All right, we're live. It's the Mindstate Marketing Hour with Will Leach. I'm Steve Brown, your host, and today's topic is how to ethically use fear in your advertising with Will Leach. Will, what's up?
Happy Halloween. Pretty close, man. You got your candy ready or what, man?
You're all spooky boy, huh? No, I turn out the lights. It's scary, so I turn out the light. I'm that neighbor.
Oh, man, you're the guy that we always throw the eggs at in the toilet paper. Hey, old man Brown, he never gives us candy. You're that guy, huh?
Exactly. So today our topic is how to ethically use fear in your advertising. Now, that is a little sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
Fear-based advertising, as a salesperson, I always would think about, I want it to be a good fit. I want you to do it because it's right for you. But fear is used so often in persuasion, and it can feel very manipulative.
Yep.
And so this is an excellent topic I'm looking forward to. Where did this come from? Did something happen recently? Did you get scared into buying something?
I did not, though it does fit well into the Halloween theme. And I do know that there are some misconceptions, I believe, around fear. And I think we should talk about fear versus scaring people and I think there's a slight difference between fear-based marketing and scare-based marketing. And so I'm gonna talk to you about some things that you can do wrong, but also talk about some things that you can do well when you remind people that there are some things out there that are not good, that are harmful. Yeah. So it was really Halloween and this idea that I've talked with clients before and said, you can scare people into a transaction once, and that's my biggest caution, once, because clients, even the big clients, they think about it sometimes, they hear about it and they're like, maybe we got to get a jolt in sales, but there's some repercussions when you do it the wrong way and when you do it too often.
Well, I think another way to package this is, what if I could help you see around the corner and there might be some surprises awaiting you that you would want to know about?
I agree. I think there's a slight difference between scaring people and showing that there's something coming, or you should be aware of something that could possibly impact your life. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we should be doing that for our clients. We have skills and we have points of view that are unique and different. We see things that our clients don't see. So that's, in a way, we should be providing that to our clients,
All right. So fear-based marketing encourages safety desires by activating a fear plus avoidance response. What's this mumbo jumbo? Does this happen to be in your book again?
There's a little bit of this in my book, though I may not call about fear-based marketing, but we do talk about the security motivation. And if you guys have followed, Maslow, and you maybe taken some basic psychology courses in the past, you know that fear is a primal, or security is a primal need or desire. So what I want to do is, first off, just set the stage and say, hey, this is a type of marketing that encourages safety desire by activating an avoidance response. And it's very natural. This is something that we go through all the time. In fact, there's a lot of people that would suggest that we go through an avoidance response with our environment, and we're kind of like, we get kind of nervous multiple times a day. It's happening naturally to you anyway. So let's just first kind of get it out there and say that all we're really doing is trying to activate safety desires. And that is a core human motivation that we all want. So that's why I want to first just talk about what it really is. And think about it through the lens of an insurance company. I work with insurance companies quite a bit, Steve. And if you think about insurance companies, think about, farmer's insurance, right? Dun, 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 dun. What they do is they show you consequences that people had in their lives. The tractor jumped a ramp and it fell into the farmer's house. These crazy, outlandish, events. But then what they do is they say, but farmer's insurance was there to get him out of that. Almost any insurance company, if you think about Nationwide, remember a couple of years ago on Super Bowl ad, they had that and I think they may have gone too far, by the way, on this one. But Nationwide, they had that what was that campaign? This could happen to you. I don't know if you remember it, but basically they show this young small kid on a big wheel, and he's all the things I thought I'd do, and then he basically says, but I didn't get to do it because I died. And like, holy cow, it's the saddest commercial ever. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. But that's an example. Insurance companies are paid to tell you that there are consequences in the future and you should be prepared for them. And those are legitimate big companies that do great things for people. So anyways, it encourages activation of avoidance responses. And so that's why it's really important. I think sometimes if you offer something that truly works, to help them understand that you have a solution to help them to avoid pain.
Well, speaking of consequences and avoiding pain, Will Leach is the author of a book that if you haven't read, then you're encountering and experiencing consequences that you could be avoiding. And he's got a book with a new look. It's not this look.
This look.
It's that look. It's Marketing the Mind States. And if you're trying to write content, you're trying to create messaging, and you haven't read this book, you're missing the mark. That's just the facts, Jack. So get that book, get into it. You can get Will's books everywhere. Mm-hmm. All the big guys have his book, and you're missing out.
Thanks.
So all of these conversations come from and are inspired by this book. All right. So state of mind, avoidance. So fear can be effective because it uses our natural instinct to avoid pain and discomfort.
That's right.
Enlighten us more, dear Will.
Like I said, you have a natural instinct, a biological instinct, in fact, to avoid pain and discomfort. So what fear can do, the reason why fear is effective is because it taps into those natural instincts that you have. Again, definition or trying to differentiate that from scaring people. Like I said, you can scare people, showing massively gross consequences and terrible things that'll happen if you don't buy my product. That is different than fear, which is highlighting that there are consequences if you don't make certain actions, take on certain behaviors. So it's effective just because it gets down to the primal level, guys. There's not a lot of coercion or education you need to activate on fear, to show people that tractors do, in fact, hit ramps and go into farmhouses. And if you have insurance, that's something you don't have to worry about. So that's why it's really effective. It taps into our natural instincts.
I always say that our brain's number one mission, number one imperative, safety first. Is try to discern the situation and see if you're okay to hang out here or need to get you out of there. And that's still in play when you're evaluating marketing stuff. So what do you mean by I already use fear in my marketing and I just don't know it?
That's right. So many of you guys right now are thinking to yourself, I don't like this topic. I would never try to use fear in marketing. That's propaganda. That's fake, whatever. That's not the right thing to do. Well, chances are you're using fear in your marketing. You don't even know it. How many of you create a sense of urgency when you have an offer? When you say, hey, while supplies last, or you have a webinar that has a countdown clock. Those are creating urgency. The reason why urgency makes sense psychologically is that it is telling your brain that there are consequences if you don't take action. So if you're creating urgency in anything you do, whether something's a limited time offer, if you're dropping a coupon for a while, you're using fear marketing. You just don't define it that way. Another one is when you tell your customers that they could miss out. If you've ever done anything like that around join my group and join the people that are in the know, you are using fear marketing. You're basically saying if you don't take on this action, there are consequences. So when you talk to fear of missing out, anything like that, you're using these types of things. Whenever you frame your features that you can avoid bad things, and I talk about a lot in my book, Marketing the Mind States, called Prevention Regulatory Focus. We'll talk about it a little bit later on again. But when you are framing your features as, hey, here's why, if you use this, if you use my product, or here's what we're going to do for you so you don't have something bad happen to you, you won't put on those extra pounds, you won't miss that phone call, whatever that is fear-based marketing. So the fact of the matter is, guys, there's a bad connotation around fear-based marketing, but you're naturally doing it. Why? Because there's only two ways you can market to people. You can tell them that you're going to give them more good things in their life, Or you can tell them that you're going to help them avoid bad things in their life. And every time you talk about how you're going to help them avoid bad things in life, that is at its essence fear-based marketing.
All right. So what are the things I need to consider? All right, you got me. I'm going to scare my people. I'm going to take.
No, you're not going to scare. No, you're not listening. You're going to use fear. You're going to talk about
fear. Way different.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So the first thing I want you to think about is, I've been asked from very big clients, by the way, to, I know that my customers are asking us to help them avoid bad things or consequences, right? They want, my customers are asking me to help them not make a mistake. The first thing I always say is don't overuse it. And here's what I mean by that. Overusing fear or any kind of messaging that talks about consequences, bad things, it can actually backfire on you for two reasons. One of them is that as you're associating your brand with consequences, even if you're saying your brand, kind of like Farmers Insurance, your brand can help people get out of situations when there's a consequence. It associates your brand with consequence. And over time, that can erode the equity of your brand. So you're associated with pain. Now, so you got to be careful with that. So you better, if you're going to do this stuff, if you're going to use this, you better maximize how your company helped them either avoid that pain or they got them out of that pain very quickly. And I think insurance companies do this really well. They show the hell of a situation and then the heaven. Because they use my brand, they use us, but they use the heaven at the very end. So they're trying to create an association with the good, positive things. The second thing that can get you in trouble there is that there's not a natural connection to you. So what brands will do is they'll say, okay, so, I buy into this. But imagine if you're trying to use this type of marketing in your Lego or your Disney, like you're a Disney or your toy company. Like if you have to stretch your brand to think about how my company can activate this avoidance response, if you really have to think hard about that, chances are you shouldn't be doing it. Okay. Because I've seen companies kind of make this mistake where they hear like I get quick short-term sales. I want to use this mechanism as a new way of crafting some copy. If you have to think about that very hard, you probably shouldn't do it. If you're a music property, maybe you're a producer out there, maybe you're a performer, that stuff probably is a hard stretch for you to talk about avoiding consequences. But imagine now, some of you may think, well, what does it work for? We already talked about insurance. Insurance makes total sense that you should be doing this. Another one, actually surprising, I love, who's doing this is booking.com. A couple of years ago, remember, if you think about what they did, they have those series of commercials where the dad is walking down the hotel aisle and his kids are just depressed. And you can just tell he's been on a rough trip and they're going to find their hotel room and everyone's sad and he's carrying all the luggage. And all of a sudden, boom, the door opens up and it's this beautiful hotel room. And everyone goes, yeah, and they jump in. They're jumping up and down on the bed. And you see this moment of relief on him. He's like, oh, yes, I chose well. I avoided a bad hotel is what's basically happening. I thought they did a really, really good job at that. Another one that makes sense is a security company. ADT has been doing this to you forever. ADT, the security company, right? What do? They show you that basically bad things can happen. So I'm sure you guys all remember that commercial. It's all the time, or it used to be, where the husband drives that way at work and all of a sudden the guy in the morning, he runs out of his car and he tries to kick in the door, right? And all of a sudden the ADT alarm goes off and the guy runs away. That's an example of showing that security, these things can happen in life, but my product can help make sure that you can avoid the consequences of something that is actually happening in life. So my point being, don't overuse it. It can be associated with your brand. And if you overuse it, it's going to hurt you even more if you're not naturally associated with a consequence that you help alleviate.
So be a real solution to a real problem. Don't make up monkey business. Let's communicate. We understand you. We've been there. We've actually had a situation that you would go, wow, I relate with that. They really do know what they're talking about.
That's right. It's the classic, don't manufacture a problem when it doesn't really exist. So let's say, for instance, if you're an executive coach out there and you're helping executives avoid burnout, that is a real problem. And if you have a real solution, something that can help them out, then you should talk about the consequences of them not, taking executive burnout into consideration. If you are a business consultant and you help companies grow, there is nothing wrong with you saying that, and you have a real solution, like how to help businesses grow. And frankly, growth is a very real problem. So you should be using this in your arsenal every so often, at least, to say, if you don't take care of this problem, you could lose your business. I can help you. Where it doesn't work is, imagine if you're selling candles, right? I don't know if you have these Sensi's, I don't know, these companies out there. If you're selling candles, that's not really a real problem that you can use fear in that. Or if you have to stretch that far, it doesn't make any sense, right? Or if you're selling a spear of wine, for instance, right? That's a tougher problem. Like, people don't have problems with wine generally that would constitute the idea that you can bring them out of this horrible situation they're in. If they have a bad glass of wine, they throw it away. They may be upset, but you don't have fear in that. So be real. Don't manufacture a problem. So let's say, I'm going to make this up on the fly. Let's say you sell wine, as a consultant or whatever. If you're trying to do some kind of advertising that, listen, when you serve the wrong wine, your party will hate you, you're manufacturing a problem. You are manufacturing a problem. So if you have to manufacture a problem to use this type of thing, don't do it, because people see right through it. It's not natural. People know what real problems in life are. So have a real solution, because it's not fair for you to bring up somebody's problem without you actually being able to solve it. And it better be a real problem. Don't try to manufacture something that's not really there.
So, all right. So now we want to be certain that you're trustworthy, consistent, and honest. This is a hard one for some brands, sadly to say.
Yeah. Imagine if you're in the tech sector right now. If you're in the tech sector and you, especially big tech, and you are trying to create some sort of hey, we can help get you out of a real problem. They don't have any trust in the big tech world. And you're certainly not seen as honest. So I think what you have to do is you have to look at yourself, and you got to be very sure that your customers see you as trustworthy. Because if you're going to talk about a problem and avoiding a fear of some kind, they better trust you. Because all you're doing at that point is that you're creating a fear, and then they look at you and say, well, why would I go to you? And now you're associated with fear and incompetence, right? So you better be certain that you are trustworthy, that you are honest, meaning transparent. If you make a mistake, it's okay. But you need to be honest with that mistake. And then you got to be consistent. Like, I can't trust you if you're not consistent, meaning you're delivering the same experience again and again. You have your operations in place that are doing a good job. Where this mattered, if you remember the Target data breach, this would have been, I don't know, it just left PepsiCo. So my guess was around 2013, maybe 2014. Target, the retail stores, they had a massive data breach. They lost a lot of trust and in their ability to secure their customers' data. And sales fell, and I'm sure they've recovered by now. But at the time, it was a really, really big deal. We stopped shopping at Target. My wife just got nervous because they had lost all this customer data to hackers. But what they did, and I thought they did a great job on, they actually immediately sent out, hey, thanks, Michael. I will get to that in just a second, I think. They immediately sent out a paper advertisements to say, we made a mistake, but we're going to rectify it as soon as possible. We take ownership of that mistake. So they very quickly were showing they're honest. They didn't blame other people. They said there were hackers, but we want to be honest with you. This happened. Here's how we're going to make things better. We're going to be better in the future. I thought they did a really nice job of trying to mitigate this horrible situation. So if you are going to use any kind of negative or fear-based marketing, you better be sure that you are trustworthy, consistent, and honest, because if you're not, it's going to be very, very difficult, I think, for you to pull that off correctly.
So Michael's asking a really good question here, about context makes sense. What are your thoughts on negative emotions having greater impact for action versus positive-oriented drivers? So is there evidence suggesting more action from avoidance or moving towards an outcome?
Yeah. So there's a lot of misconception. The way I read the behavioral science. So thanks, Michael. I love that you're on every week. I appreciate this. There is a commonly misunderstood reference point that says people will avoid pain over gaining pleasure at a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning that their desire to avoid pain is 2 times as powerful as showing somebody the upside or showing somebody a benefit. And I don't discount that data point. What I do discount that is that depends on the context, just like you said, Michael, the context that somebody is in when they're making a decision. So in my book, Marketing to Mind States, we talk about the 2 regulatory approaches. There's promotion regulatory focus, meaning you're optimistic in your mind state, or prevention regulatory focus means you're cautious in your mind state. So if you're naturally cautious, meaning that you are right now, when you're making a decision, you're seeking to avoid pain, I believe that the 2-to-1 ratio makes a lot of sense. If you're in that regulatory focus, if your natural instincts in this situation, in this context, is to avoid consequences, then avoidance of bad things is going to be at a ratio of 2-to-1. So yes, that makes sense. And it's very, very powerful. However, imagine you're in an optimistic frame of mind. You're open to new ideas. You're open to risk. Now, if I'm going to message to you about, hey, use my product so you can avoid loss and you can avoid risk. But wait, if somebody's in the optimistic frame of mind, which again, I talk about in my book, Marketing to Mind States, then that ratio no longer exists. In fact, that ratio shrinks a lot. Here's my point. If you don't know anything about your customer, that I don't know if you should say, well, I think it's avoidance of pain is the more powerful outcome. So I'm going to go message that. I'm not sure if you can say that. I think you need to do a little bit of research, a little bit of thinking on that. If you don't know anything, you can try it out just to see what it goes. But I don't think, I'm not a believer that is the end all be all around, hey, what do I think about, consequences of pain? Let's use it. Yeah, right. Context is everything. So yeah, thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate it.
So Kenny's asking, all right, or he's commenting, early in his sales career, he learned how to incorporate the key impulse factors influencing a prospect's purchase decision in his pitch. Jones effect, indifference, fear of loss, sense of urgency.
Yeah, I think, again, it can be useful where you can do some loss aversion stuff, or like you said, creating a sense of urgency when you're going to be working on your pitch, and then you kind of use some urgency, like, hey, you know what, this problem is not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. I'm here to help you. Love that. I've seen to create a hedonic response. What you're really doing, Kenny, is you're creating what's called a hedonic response. So you're basically creating emotional arousal with somebody in the moment where they're going to make an emotional decision. And in that moment, you're saying, and I can help you avoid loss if you just purchase from me. Love that. That works really well in sales. You can also do it the other way too, though. You can actually create that emotional arousal by saying, I can get you to a better place tomorrow. If we work together tomorrow, I can take you from the hell you're in right now, and we can get to the heaven immediately. That's what happens, actually, if you didn't know this. This happens at the front end of grocery stores when you guys are kind of waiting in the, I guess not so many people go to grocery stores anymore, but when you're at the front of the line, you're waiting for the person to, ahead of you to check out, and you're looking all around, and there's this gum and there's candy and there's magazines. People are buying impulse, massively impulse in that moment, but it's not because of fear. It's not because of avoidance of pain. It's because of desire for pleasure. That's an example of how you could have gone the other way in your sales prospecting, and it could have gone just as well for you. In those moments, people are excited. They're getting ready to check out. They have all these great things in their basket. They're in an optimistic state of mind. And all of a sudden, oh, and I can get some gum. This is awesome. Or I can get a magazine, a funny magazine. That's why it works. It works in both ways, I guess is the point.
So you're talking about use in certain versus prosperous times.
Yeah. So this is an example where if people are happy, if you're in prosperous times, meaning the economy's running, you got low unemployment, there's no national tragedies, things like that, then using fear doesn't work as much, right? Because people are pretty happy. And so the way you evoke fear is you say, hey, there's some consequences coming up soon. When people are happy, most people don't tend to go, oh my God, you're right. At any moment, this is going to change on me. No, we have this, we actually have this bias called projection bias. And really what that is that whatever state we're in now, we tend to think that that's going to be in the future, right? So what happens is that when you're happy, you tend to think that you're going to remain happy. Or if you're sad, you tend to think that you're going to remain sad in the future. So reason why I tell you, if you're in prosperous times, chances are psychologically, subconsciously, your customers believe that we're going to be on this road for a while. That's why market crashes happen, because people think that prosperity is happening. I can keep buying homes, whatever. And then there's a market crash. Why? It's because you have this exuberance over time. So when prosperous times are happening, it doesn't work as well. Now, let's talk about when they're uncertain. If you're in uncertain times, there's a lot of ambiguity in the marketplace. There's a lot of complexity. There's high unemployment. The economy is not doing well. Now, all of a sudden, people, again, because of prospecting or projection bias, they believe, oh my gosh, this thing could go on for a while. This thing could go on for a while. Now what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I see those consequences. If you don't take action, it is going to keep happening. That's why I want you to think about this and think, if people are generally happy, telling people that they could be sad isn't going to work. If people are generally sad or down, it will work, because you're evoking that same fear, or that same kind of level of anxiety that they have. You're solving for that.
We got another great comment here. So, Kenny, Container Store is great at placing the perfect product.
I know, that's so true, man. I know. Who's also good at that is IKEA. IKEA does a great job of forcing me to go see the cheaper stuff right at the beginning. Give me that spatula. I need a rubber spatula.
I know. I never think about Snicker bars until I'm standing at the checkout, and it's hard not to pick it up.
That's right. That's right.
So, all right. Excellent. I love this. Timely, but we do use that a lot, and we don't realize it. And so to be able to use it in an ethical way, that if your intent, if they feel it, that if you're helping them consider what's out of view, what's around the corner, there's a lot of value in that you're actually positioning yourself as a helper, a support. I'm going to help you avoid these things. You should consider it. But then I've always thought, that was a great question here when we think about so should we talk about, do we want to move towards sugar or move away from pain? And I've always been told that people would rather avoid pain more than go towards the sugar. Mm-hmm. But the beauty of your book, and here's where it all comes in, is that's why you need to understand the concepts in this book, because the mind state that your particular client may be in when considering your option is generally optimistic, and sugar would be a great time to acknowledge or honor.
Very much so. I mean, it's just too easy to, like that ratio we were talking about, the 2-to-1 ratio, because it's commonly out there. So people think I have to show people consequences or whatever and losses, and it's just not true. So we talk about this in the book, Marketing in Mind States, and we talk about this concept of optimistic frames versus cautious frames. And I'll let you read the book to learn more about it. But here's the general concept, guys, is that you want to use cautious frames when you're describing your features. So if you're going to talk about avoidance of consequences, you need to show that your features can, in fact, help them avoid consequences. So we use this example a bit. Let's say if you're manufacturing snacks out there. Carrot versus stick. That's exactly right. Let's say if you're manufacturing snacks out there and they're healthy snacks. And I've worked with a company that does this really well now in their marketing after working with us. They have a healthy snack, and it's great. It tastes awesome. Now, they could talk about their snacks in one of two ways. One way is what we call the optimistic way, meaning that our snack has more vitamins and minerals than others. Our snacks taste great. Our snacks will help you become healthier. Those are all optimistic framings of the same features. I could take that exact same snack. I could take those exact same features and frame them in a cautious way, saying, our snack will not make you put on pounds. Our snacks are made with no artificial colors and sweeteners. See where I'm going? You can take the same attributes of a snack and figure out how to frame those attributes in a way that are telling your customers, if you buy me, more good things will happen. There's your carrot. Or if you buy me, less bad things will happen. No stick. So that's why if you're going to go down this pathway of, hey, I think it's really, I'm in the right industry, my brand, it makes sense, I can help people avoid pain, then frame up your features as telling people they're going to get less bad things if they buy you. It sounds so natural and intuitive when you and I are talking here. It is not intuitive when you're writing, because oftentimes we actually write in whatever state of mind we're in. So if I'm in a happy state of mind, I'm in a great marriage, I'm going to go on a date night tonight, whatever that is, you write optimistically. You write about good things. And that doesn't make sense, or it's not as effective as it would be if you wrote in the more cautious way. So be sure to relook at all your features and say, how would I discuss this feature in a way that told my customer that they will avoid consequences? And just like you do is tweak that messaging. It's going to sound a lot better to them.
So if you enjoyed this part of the conversation on Will's topic today, be sure to hit like. What are they smash that like button?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Or what would be the cautious way? Consider hitting the like button to avoid missing.
Yeah, you're gonna avoid missing the Mindstate Marketing Hour if you don't hit this button. There you go, man. You're natural, Steve.
All right, so here we go. It's that time where we take the questions and let's watch Will sweat. All right, number one. What is contextual advertising and why should I consider it?
Wow, this actually builds, I think, a little bit on what Michael had said a little bit ago. So contextual advertising, the way I understand it, is just basically making sure that your advertisement makes sense in the context of your customer and when they make a decision. So actually, I read an Ad Age article a couple of days ago about this. I mean, who's doing it well? So Pernod Ricard, they have a brand of bourbon, I believe. It's a bourbon. I think it's called Jefferson's Bourbon. And Jefferson's is a brand that is aged at sea, I think. I saw one of their commercials. I think it was a TV commercial, if I'm remembering it right. And so I read this article that, the whole whiskey in the brand stands for adventure. So what do? Now, certainly they could advertise in spirit stores. I'm sure they do, right? But how much more impactful would they be if they advertised in adventure magazines, on adventure websites? Because their brand is naturally positioned in a way that we're the bourbon for adventurers. That's just their positioning in the marketplace. And it just so happens that the attributes of the brand support that. So this idea of matching the context of the brand with the advertising can create much stronger associations. So that's kind of what I see as contextual advertising.
All right, excellent. So, all right, let's watch Will squirm here. We're just getting blowed up with comments today, as we say in Texas. Blowed up. So, number 2, why is asking purchase intent so vilified in marketing research today? Well, I didn't know.
So I'm going to tell you, I think I was a part of this issue years and years and years ago. So first off, you may not know, but if you're in the marketing research space, or probably most marketing researchers know this. If they don't, I'm going to throw some knowledge at you. Most people now have proven that by asking people, will you buy this product in the future, is not correlated with whether or not they actually buy that product in the future. So when you ask people whether or not you're going to buy something, most people don't know. And the reason why that is there's a couple of fallacies, actually. There's planning fallacy, which is this idea that we can't plan for time very well. So it's this idea that, hey, Deborah, I'll get back to your question, or I'll look at that in a second. Planning fallacy is that we're not good predictors of time. So when you ask me, hey, are you going to buy something like this in the future? We're very bad at predicting time and how we're going to act in the future. Another thing that comes up a lot is projection bias. Actually, I talked about projection bias, right? Which is that we think that our preferences won't change. So how I'm feeling today, we believe that I'll feel the same way in the future. So that's a bias. That's not true. We change emotions all the time. We change our attitudes, our preferences, our beliefs all the time. But we don't know that when we're answering questions. So we believe how we are today is in the future. Therefore, we state that, yeah, we'll buy this in the future without any regard to what context is going to tell us. And then the third one is satisficing. I don't know how many people know this, but frankly, what we do in life is we satisfies, which is a kind of a term in behavioral economics, which is that we seek to just satisfy ourselves just sufficiently. That's usually good enough, meaning that if you tell me, or you ask me if I'm going to buy something in the future, what we know in real behavior is that we may not go all the way to buy your solution. We may buy the minimum requirements to feel like we're satisficing that idea. So these 3 biases alone are telling us that first and foremost, we are very, very, very bad predictors of how we will behave in the future. That's why purchase intent questions, when you ask somebody on a scale to 1 to 7, how likely are you to purchase this product in the future? That's why it's vilified. There is rarely any correlation between that answer and what you will actually do in the future.
So Deborah's got a comment here. So research shows gain-framed positive messages convert or work best for certain behaviors, whereas loss-framed negative or fear-inducing messages encourage other prevented behaviors.
Deborah's an expert at this stuff. I follow her on LinkedIn. Deborah, if you don't mind, write out a couple of those examples. If you have time, write up a couple of examples of that, because I think our audience needs to see that. So that's awesome. So thank you. So what are your thoughts from a conversion optimization standpoint? Okay. God, I love you. So for conversion optimization, I actually think that in those cases, prevention, if you don't know anything else, conversion optimization, meaning limited time only, while supplies last, I think it's more about loss aversion, frankly, than it is about prevention, regulatory focus. But I think then I can make the case, if I didn't know anything about your customer, and I've done this with my clients, is I'll immediately say, let's try some sort of a scarcity tactic, or maybe a social proof tactic or a loss aversion tactic to drive conversion. So I will do that. If you forced me into not knowing anything about my customer, I would use it certainly for conversion optimization. I would frame consequences. That would be my natural instincts until I know more about my customer.
Good job, Will. You're just handling these.
Well, she's a tough one, Steve. I know she knows stuff, man.
No, it's like I think you know what you're talking about on this stuff. You should write about. Oh, you already did. I forgot. Okay. So if you don't know, if you don't have Will's book, it's called Marketing the Mind States. And of course, you can learn more about it at themindstategroup.com. You want to answer one more question?
Woo! Yeah, we got time. 11:41.
All right.
Yep.
So does behavior science improve call to action advertising?
That's very similar, I think, to what Deborah just said, actually. Mm-hmm. So does behavioral science improve call to action advertising? Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you guys don't know what call to action advertising is, it's basically advertising that's not built around this idea of building equity. It's really it's trying to get somebody to take an action of some kind, whether it's to click here, sign up for my newsletter, buy my product, go to my website, whatever. There's a call to action that you're asking somebody who reads your advertisement to take on that behavior. So that's what call to action advertising is. How does behavioral science improve it, or does it? Absolutely, guys. Our whole Mindstate Marketing Hour every week is talking about how to use behavioral science to get people to understand why people do what they do and to help them take on behaviors of some kind. So here's why it works, I think. At the easiest fundamental level is behavioral science is very good as it relates to call to action marketing. It's good because it tells the mind subconsciously what to do and when to do it. And that is like the hardest thing to do in today's world, where the mind doesn't want to make decisions anymore. There's too much clutter in the marketplace, too many decisions you're forcing me to make. When you're able to connect at the subconscious level and to get the mind to say, here's what I should do, and I should do it soon, or here's when I should do it. If you can put those two things together, which behavioral sciences do really well with call to actions, then that's a great point. The second thing is it can create urgency. So this is actually what Deborah and I are all saying, right? You can actually create urgency around your calls to action. Because certainly you can tell me what to do and when to do it, but it doesn't mean I'll actually do it. Because a lot of times I'm like, okay, I'm going to save that video. I'll watch it later. Or I'll look at that Facebook group later on. Behavioral science creates urgency. Why? Because it's a whole genre of behavioral science called behavioral economics that are shortcuts to decision making. So if I can shortcut you from, rather than saying, I'm going to put this email away and I'll look at it later, just saying, I'll just click now because it's really easy. If I can shortcut that makes that behavior much more likely. So that's why behavioral science is so great for call to action marketing. In fact, I think it's more appropriate for call to action marketing than your traditional equity marketing that you used to do back, a decade ago when you were trying to build equity around your brand.
All right. Another epic episode of the Mindstate Marketing Hour, where you learn how to use science to connect with your clients. Will, what's up with this masterclass? What's going on here? What, you got some changes, new things?
We got the masterclass for you guys, right? Yeah. So listen, if you love this stuff, if you read the book Marketing in Mind States and you're thinking to yourself, I want to take it to the next level, we have what's called a masterclass. So if you go to mindstategroup.com and look at and look at our services, you're going to see something called a masterclass. Our masterclass is a do-it-yourself program that you can walk through the key principles of marketing and mind states on your own through videos and as well as quizzes, so you can learn deeper on these principles around marketing to mind states. So what's great about it is you're going through a case study as you go through these videos, so you can really learn those concepts, not just from a theoretical perspective and not just from me talking about these ideas and how they relate to my personal life, but how they actually were implemented in a company. Now, more importantly, we also have a program called the Partnership Program, which is a 12-week program where we work together over the course of 12 weeks, where we're going to help you understand how to first build a brand identity that is just compelling. So we're going to help you figure out your vision, going to help you figure out your distinct point of view, and ultimately then your purpose. But that's not enough. We all know that. We have lots of great brands with great purpose, and they fail every day. Why? It's because they don't know how to message that purpose. That's when we bring in the Mindstate marketing work. We're going to teach you step by step how to create Mindstate marketing for your business. We're going to work every day, basically together back and forth through email and live video sessions for us to teach you how to activate on those mind states and how to grow your business using this, all the way to the point where you're going to audit your own marketing to where you can look at your marketing in the future and know that it's been psychologically optimized. So that's also on the mindstategroup.com's website. It's called our Partnership Program.
Will, good job today. Proud of you.
It was good. Hey, I want you to reconsider this whole candy thing, man. Don't be old man Brown out there. You go get those kids that candy.
All right, I'll leave the lights off. I'll hide behind the bush, and then I'll scare them.
We just said not scared. Give them fear, not scared.
Yeah. I bet they'll move away from fear there, right?
Yeah, that is the scare. You scare this weekend. The last time my guys want you to scare anybody, use it on Halloween weekend. That's it.
All right, so here we go. So here's our outro. Watch this. So, Will, you got a great team. Let's see if I can figure out how to run this. Here we go. All right. Hey, did you know that Will's got a podcast now? It's a Mindstate Marketing Hour on all the channels that you love to listen to your podcast. And also, be sure to subscribe on YouTube so you get a notification every time we spin up. Be sure to like. We appreciate it. Love all the questions, and we appreciate you guys. So have a great week. And Will, you hang out with Nick. You guys do a little fun get in trouble.
Yeah, we're still trick-or-treating, man. We're still trick-or-treating. I'm going to go as Mr. Clean. That's going to be my look this year.
Mr. Clean.
Easy to pull off.
Yeah. I'm going to go as Mr. Mean. All right. And that's a wrap.